Welcome to the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast, a podcast where we teach speakers how to land paid speaking engagements and corporate contracts. Each week, we deliver high-quality content that teaches you how to level up your speaking business. Be sure to join the Speak Your Way to Cash Facebook group after having your mind blown by this information-filled episode. Now, here's your host, Ashley Kirkwood, lawyer and professional speaker. This is the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast.
Hey guys, it's Ashley Kirkwood with the Speak Your Way to Cash podcast. I'm super excited because we have Jasmine Green with Jasmine P. Green Consulting here, and she's a sales strategy expert. And as you all know, sales is critical to your speaking career success. Like if you cannot sell, but you can speak, you will not get on stages because you have to get yourself on those stages, at least in the beginning. So we're going to talk about sales mindset, sales strategy, and then some of the things that are roadblocks to speakers in selling, like prospecting. And I'm just super stoked to hear more about Jasmine's story, her business, and also her selling mindset and strategy. So Jasmine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I mean, I've binged on your episodes and it's an honor to be a part of your series. So thank you so much.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, we have some awesome people on here and you fit right in, especially with your expertise. And it's interesting because everyone we've had on has been a 6 or 7 figure speaker, and you're really on for your sales expertise, which I think is going to be immeasurably valuable to the audience. So tell us a little bit about the business that you have now and kind of your background.
Yeah. So funny thing is I have a background in finance project management. So I'm a project manager by default, just how my brain works. So have background in that. 2017, my wife and I, we launched a financial services company and we scaled that to multi-7 figures. That was literally a hustle. That was so much of a hustle. So my objective was to figure out a way to, and I don't want to sound lazy, but make around the same or make more money by spending less time. So, I immediately moved my business model online. I follow so many influencers who are in this space and killing it just with their knowledge base, selling what they know. And so I made my way into the online space 2018. It's been just thinking about it, Ashley, because I thought about this before I even came on with you, just really thinking about how things have grown in just a matter of, I would say, 13 to 14 months is insane. So to be completely honest with you, I started out with a stock market program. I'm a stock nerd. I'm one of the, brown girls on Wall Street. So people wanted to know how to invest. And so I was like, you know what? The market's doing good. So let me put out a program that went bananas. So I had students everywhere. And then people started reaching out to me saying like, how are you getting students? Like, how are you even doing this? Right.
And what was the price point of that program?
So it started out at $997 and then it went up to $5K.
Wow.
Yeah. So, cause I was like, hey, wait, so cause in my mind, if you're going to pay $997, then okay, that's like $1,000. So, it evolved throughout okay, let's do $1,497. Let's try $2,500. And then it capped at $5K. So, people at that point, because I guess, word gets around, I talked to this girl, Jasmine, whatever, her program's this much, she's getting people in it. I was successful. I was literally selling it from Instagram only, like no ads. So people wanted to know, like, how are you doing that? So the conversation shifted from how to flip stocks in Amazon to how to position your program and how to get people into it for a premium price. Right. So that's literally how this all came about. And I'll tell anybody, I know that I'm good at talking to people. They say I have the gift of gab, which is definitely why I want to work with you to get this speaking life going. Yeah. But I literally tried to run away from this. I felt like it was way too much responsibility. I thought it was just way too much. And I never wanted to be put out there as someone who, I worked with her and I didn't get any results or it bombed out. Yeah. So I tried running from it and I couldn't run anymore. Like I fell immensely in love with just opening people's minds up to, yes, you can absolutely charge $10, $15, $20,000 for really the framework that's in your $9.99 ebook. It's just mind boggling.
Yeah.
So that's how this all came about. So really, I work with anyone who's a course creator, who has a transformation they offer to people, and I show them how to create that into a scalable offer and give them the confidence in my framework on how to sell, enroll people into it.
That is really cool. That's really cool. Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So how did you scale your financial services business to multi-seven figures?
So we lived at the time. So now I live in Dallas, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
All right, DFW is still hot. It's Hades out here. I'm not gonna drop any bombs on here, but it's still so hot out here. But we moved from Arkansas, very rural town in Arkansas. So we kind of had the market hemmed up. Now, even though we were kind of like the one of its kind type company, because we catered to single mothers who needed to just get a better financial edge for their children, and a lot of people didn't really have that money mindset. So we did a lot of workshops, just a lot of different programs and outreach out there. So we really didn't have a lot of competition. It was just us, the minority against our counterparts, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a grind. Oh my gosh, just thinking about it. I spent a lot of time on the road traveling. We were servicing Little Rock, Arkansas, Camden, Arkansas, Smackover, El Dorado. Just the whole, like if you pull up a map, Ashley, when we hop off here, you'll see how small these towns are. We're talking 18,000 people in a population. We had it on lock.
Wow. So how did you advertise? Were you just going to these towns and talking to people?
So my wife actually grew up there. And so everybody knew her from high school. So it's one of those small towns where, oh, I know your mama. Oh, I know such and such.
Okay,
I went to school with them. So she's on social media. We're talking about what we're doing. We're going out to different events, meeting people, just having conversation. People are starting to like reach out to her, and it just kind of like caught on fire. So like word of mouth, and we did, like I said, a lot of different events and stuff. So we were able to meet people there. And then it was like, well, my uncle needs some help. Well, yeah, my sister, she just got married. So they need, it's just, that word of mouth is powerful.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So it was a lot. Oh my gosh. Like it was just, it was a lot. And it got to a point to where, I realized I wasn't in love with that. I didn't want to go down in the books for that.
Right.
It was just something we wanted to entertain, because we're one of those, we're a financial savvy couple. I like to think, and we like to just share what we know, but I didn't want to go down in the books for that. I wanted to be known. If I'm gonna be doing something like that, I want to be known for what it is that's in my heart. Mm-hmm. So thanks to the Most High, I'm so grateful every single day that I finally just accepted my gift. And I'm able to kill it in my space.
That is awesome. So you go from building a multi-seven-figure financial services firm to creating a course on stock investing, because that was a skill you had, and that was selling, and you really were able to increase the price from $997 to $5,000. And for all the speakers that are listening, that's critical, because a lot of speakers, I am a big on your price is based more on your confidence than your competence a lot of times. And so you do want to think about, as a speaker, you do want to think about, what are you giving to the audience? What are you qualified to do? But for the most part, most speakers set their prices just because they say the number they're comfortable saying, like they're confident enough to say. But I think the fact that you were able to raise that price and still deliver value, and you were getting repeat customers at those rates, meant that the value was there, the price was good. So then that was doing really well. And then how did you go from when do you still sell that course, or did you stop selling that altogether and then you shifted to sales coaching and coaching other course creators and coaches?
Yeah, so I'm really big on being intentional. So I don't know if I had this like enlightenment moment, I don't know. It just really seems like one day I woke up and, after so many people reached out to me, like I started, the conversation literally shifted from, okay, how do you trade penny stocks? Or like, how, what is this or what's that? With that to, I see you and I want to do what you're doing. Can you please show me how to do that? So initially I turn people away. Like I have my faves, I say, hey, go talk to such and such. They'll help you. But then something clicked on me to say, hey, at least give it a shot. At least open yourself up to that conversation. So I began helping people, and I wasn't even really charging initially. It was just like, hey, let's just see. I'm all about planting seeds. So if I can help you out, cool. If not, hey, I told you I wasn't an expert, right?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
so people were coming back to me like, oh my God, I made the biggest month ever just off of the like 2 things you told me, or that one thing I implemented on Instagram. And oh my God, like I'm doing it now. And I just, it just started. I became validated, Ashley. Like
Yeah.
like I said earlier, I wanted to run away from this, but when people started showing me receipts,
Yeah.
I couldn't, I just couldn't deny it. So I said, you know what? This feels good because, and if any of my old students from the stock market program is listening, like I love you guys, but I started to dread the coaching calls. I did. And
So was the program online and there was an element of one-on-one coaching?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm a firm believer in if you're going to charge a premium price, then there needs to be some element of you there. There needs to be some element of intimacy. So there's absolutely nothing I do that's just like online solely. People,
which is unique because a lot of the coaches that I've spoken with, even about, the different speaking programs that I offer, they're like, okay, how do we take you out of it? And I'm like, oh, that's tough.
Oh, yeah, it is. I mean, it's nothing like being in the, as I call it, the lab with somebody and just being able to offer that real-time feedback. I mean, if you're paying me 10 and 20 some $1,000, then I need to absolutely be really there for you, So my program, even my stock market program, I took the time to meet with them to get the questions to share things on my screen, share different patterns and stuff. But I started dreading it. Once I started having so much fun with the other side of it, I was like, you know what, this doesn't feel good anymore. And I've learned in my life experience, like I'll be 29 next month. I've learned that if I don't like it and if it doesn't feel good to me, then I need to cease it. Mm-hmm. So many people have told me, hey, you could have just kept that program and just sold it on autopilot. I mean, I create funnels too. So you could have just created a funnel and just had it like that. Well, I'm super intentional about my life's work. Right. And now that I've been like awakened, this is literally waking up something inside of me every single day, to be able to help someone, like you said earlier, your your husband was first generation, right?
Yeah.
I help people literally step into that lane, where they're breaking chains because of now they're able to earn some profits that they've never earned in their business. So I'm really intentional about that. And I move with what felt good.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Well, that's also a good point too, because people will tell you like, you could just keep doing that for money, or you could just keep doing this for money. And I don't think one thing that I've learned in my industry, in the legal industry, when I looked at the partners who were bringing in 60, 70 million a year, they really loved it. I mean, they really, really loved it. It wasn't that they were doing it for the money. It was that they loved it so much that they put in enough time into it to be exceptional at it. And so they could command whatever rate they wanted, and they loved it. They loved it. And I was in a large firm and I just didn't love it. I was like, I liked the aspects of it that I liked could have been totally absent of law. I liked having a driver. I liked getting paid. I liked traveling. I liked having a team. I really liked having a team because I enjoyed seeing people develop. So I like developing people. So, but all of that, I do that now. Like that could all be done without me working at that firm doing that particular type of law. So I agree with just not making decisions based on the financial rewards of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be completely transparent with you, I've had to get to a space in order for me to grow like I've grown. I had to get to a place to where it was no longer about the money. My intention had to be deeper than the money. And so when I focused on making sure that I can help somebody become a first generation high earner, or just really begin breaking those generational chains, that's when the Most High God, the universe, the 12 oak trees in the backyard, whatever you refer to that higher all,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it was like, okay, you know what? Game on. You're ready. You are ready for this because it's not about the money. Yeah.
I love that. Okay, that's really good. That is really, really, really good. And there are people listening, I know, who are just starting their speaking career. And speaking is one of those things where you aren't going to close typically your client on one call, because the clients you're talking to are colleges, universities, corporations, associations, and depending on how large the corporation is, they have to take it to a board, they have to get it approved by different agencies. There's so much that goes into it, but you have to start the process. So
Yes.
for the people that you're coaching on selling, or to the person who doesn't even know how to sell, or they're very uncomfortable saying their rate, what advice would you give them?
I would just, it's funny because it has absolutely nothing to do with sales. So, because my answer is going to kind of maybe throw some people off. So, I'll just go ahead and say it. You need to go inward. What is it why are you uncomfortable with money? And that's really what it boils down to. Now, I'm not saying I'm a money mindset expert, but I've had to get people to move out of a certain way of thinking and believing in order to own the fact that, yes, my program is $7,500. This is where you sign. I had to get them to change that. So you have to go inward and say, why am I really uncomfortable with this? Could it be that I feel like I'm not deserving? Could it be that I don't think that, I'm good enough? It really gets deep. It does. And so I just encourage even my clients that are coming on to me, because, they have to believe in themselves just a little bit to invest with me the way they do. But absolutely. I encourage them to just, you have to be knowing that you deserve this. And let's just get really real, Ashley. There's no amount of money that someone could write a check for to give to you that'll equate to your value. You are invaluable. So just know that if you're asking for 10,000, know that you're worth so much more than that. You're worth so much more than that. But, we live in a world where money affords opportunities, and you have to have lights and water and a car and things like that. So you want it to make sense to you and to where it is you're headed with your life. So you don't look at it like, man, I'm worth X amount of dollars. It's really about what's going to make sense to you, your life, and what exactly your intention for your wealth is. You have to think about, okay, well, is a $597 speaking gig or course gonna open the path to multi-generational wealth? I'm trying to get that to start with me. So is that gonna make sense? So you have to get into that headspace.
And it won't help you. It just won't. Like you, and the thing is too, I think that one of the things, I love what you said about, it doesn't really matter what your price is. Humans can't be bought anymore. So you're invaluable. So I love that. And I also think one of the things that a speaker told, she didn't even tell this to me, I was listening to her on a podcast, and she said, she was like, every time I take an engagement for less than my rate that I have determined, I am essentially telling my family that they're not worth that rate. And if I say yes to you, I'm saying no to being with my kids for dinner for $500. Does that make sense? And I was like, ooh, that do not make sense. And he was like, that's exactly right. You're running around here doing these things.
Yeah.
You need to make sure it makes sense. If it doesn't afford us more time together or put us in a better position, you just can't do it. And from that point on, I really looked at money and time as two different variables that I could evaluate. And I'm big on, like, I have money, I don't have time. Like money, I try not to make decisions solely based on money, because unless you have unlimited resources, your decisions will always be limited. But I do make decisions based on the value of time. Like that is why you pay experts, because you don't want to waste time trying to figure everything out.
Yes, you said it. I mean, what she said, that took me back, right? Yeah. I mean, that got me, because that's literally it. It's not about what you're worth. It's about what's going to afford your bigger picture. What does that look like? And you know what, another adjunct to that is being clear on, what do you want? What is it that you want? Because when you get into a space of somebody, just throwing you out a number and it's below your rating, you're like, well, I might as well take it. You're operating from a space of like, lack and scarcity. And that begins to attract that to you. And I hate to sound like the fluff and the woo, but this is just universal law. Like I didn't create it. It's just what it is. And so when you can own it, like you own it, it really takes you stepping outside of the way that you're thinking, acting, speaking, and believing now, and really getting into alignment with the part of you that's the highest version of yourself. That's when you're able to, I don't know, it's like you put on a cape and then you're this alter ego, you're this alter version of you that's really doing it. And so you have to be willing to be uncomfortable for just a second and turn your back on the people that said, oh, you can't do this, you're not worth it. Any trauma. And I always tell my clients, hey, listen, we're going to be working on your sales process and your funnels and your programs and stuff, but you might want to get with like a therapist, somebody to help you really just hash out some of those traumas that you've been through that kind of shape the way you see yourself, your self-concept and the world and how things work. So, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of inner work. But when you do that inner work, everything else just, it just comes to you. It really does.
No, it definitely does. And I'm big on having a really good therapist. I always recommend Natasha Getting. She's very good. And she's, as a African-American woman, it's just really important that you have someone, whoever you go to, that is culturally competent, which really has nothing to do with their race and everything to do with how they make you feel. But if you have any work you need to do and you're running a business, you need to just do it, because it is a lot more than running a business. Like who you are as a person really does come out in the way that you work with your customers, your integrity. It's a lot more than I even knew. Coming from a corporate, like corporate is it's so predictable. It's like every 2 weeks you get paid. If you don't feel like going to work, it doesn't matter. You're salaried. You know what I mean? So
right. Yeah.
As a business owner, you always have to show up and you have to be professional, whether you feel good or not, to your customers and to your staff, which is another big integrity piece, is like making sure you're always treating people around you well. So a lot of what you've said has been great. I love that. But there are people listening who are like, okay, I don't even know anyone with $5,000. So how am I going to have a $5,000 or $15,000 or $10,000 offer when I don't know how to prospect? So what are your thoughts on prospecting? And do you have any strategies for people to actually find their ideal clients and start reaching out to them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So I'm really big on, and this is going to sound cliche, but I'm sure you all and even you have heard of storytelling. But what I do is I kind of, I get intimate, right? People want to be able to relate to you. So it's a way for you there's a way for you to position your expertise and tie it into who you are as a person, because people aren't really like, they're buying the thing, right? Because it quote unquote solves the pain point, but they're entering into, like, I even call it like a covenant with you, they're investing with you. So they really need to know that, you're reachable, you're relatable, and what type of energy you carry. Because I invest based on how you make me feel, for sure. Your results, but how you make me feel. So I'm active in a lot of Facebook groups, and I post questions, just things to make people think, outside of the, hey, what sucks about your sales, or like, that's that's not going to really catch someone's attention. So I really like to just say, hey, there was a time actually when I invested $25,000 into a program, and it stretched me, because sometimes you get to a point where you think you're Mr. Know-it-all. And what I'm doing that for, I don't need that. But I told a story about me and my own objections. I've heard every objection there is, like, oh, my horoscope said not to do it, so I need to just not do it. I've heard so many things. But I just get to a point where I'm really opening up about myself. Even things that I still struggle with. Any time that I'm inspired or I'm having a growth moment, I share those things with people. And also I tie it to the fact of, hey, this is what just being able to confidently position yourself and just really, just command those higher prices. This is what it'll do for not only you, but, your life, your business, your family. So it's just all about how you're putting it out there, and also watch your energy while you're putting it out there. I've noticed the difference. And again, I'm not trying to sound woo woo and fluff, but I noticed that whenever I'm making a post and I'm trying to engage with someone and I'm feeling frustrated, or I'm feeling like, oh, I got to do this, it really affects the results. But when I'm coming from a place of clarity and love and just, authenticity and wanting to connect with people for their highest good, that's when, I don't know, what just shifts, it moves. So I just encourage you to show up in places where your client lives at, whether that's a Reddit forum, that's Instagram, any Facebook groups, any even in-person networking opportunities, and just engage. And not only engage, because one thing I tell my clients, Ashley, is that you can't close a sale you never open. So some people have this complex where I don't want to bother them. I don't want to seem too pushy.
Right.
You reaching out to somebody isn't going to come across as pushy unless you're saying, hey, sign up for my bill. You have to be genuine in your approach. Ask people, hey, what are your struggles? What are your challenges? What do you think about this? I saw you engage with my post. What were your thoughts? What inspired you to connect with me?
Mm-hmm.
And that's just to give you a little bit, but start up the conversation and be open to where it goes. Don't be afraid, because we really sabotage ourselves in that process. People are really willing to solve their problems, but they're waiting on the one person that's going to really care enough to go the extra inch.
So it sounds like you do a lot of like organic marketing.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you do a lot of organic marketing by showing up where they are, posting, being in those forums, meeting them in person, and just having thought-provoking conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah. Because so you know how many other sales experts there are, right?
Yeah.
And if I show up in a ClickFunnels group, we're all going to sound alike.
Right.
Hey, it had a $30,000 month. What do you want to know? Like, obviously everything. Somebody wants to know everything about that. So let's just take it a step further, right? Let's talk about, oh my goodness. Just so many things come to mind. And this is, when there's another version of how I work with people, like in a VIP day, those are like super popular. You're able to get a person in and out and get a result. Well, I help them create like content to, to engage in how to actually do that, because it really is important. If you don't have the money for ads, and even if you do have the money for ads, it's a really neat way of saving your coins and engaging and interacting with people who you can qualify instantly, because you now know.
Would turn into a pretty good ad too. If you had good questions, good positioning, storytelling, those create really good ads. And ads are I think they probably are integral, but it is a real testing game. Like, it's almost like playing with your money. Like, you kind of got to put in a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand in the beginning just to test out what works. And I'm just in that process now. I think we actually ran our first ad for the firm today. And so we've gotten like 2,500 impressions, but only 18 clicks. And I don't know what that converts to in terms of people signing up, but we're testing an ad, and it's just, you're literally testing. Like, you're just playing with this money right now to figure out what our monthly ad spend needs to be. So I'm just like, all right, well, let's see. And I think VIP days and everything else for that. But I do think organic is the way to go, because your ads are so much more powerful if you already have that customer list to just make
absolutely.
Audience. You already know who your people are. So.
Exactly. Too, when you're doing it organically, it does, not only when you're asking questions and getting feedback, you're able to take that feedback and solve it. But you're really able to build the relationship. Man, I would much rather enroll someone into one of my high-end programs knowing who they are, and not just off a cold click here, schedule now. It means so much more getting to know the person, knowing who their husband is, hearing their kids in the background, learning more about what's really driving them and what can my space be in their life. So please don't look at it like, oh, it's going to take all of my time. Block out time. But if you really want to make an impact, because this is really what our businesses are, this is why we're in this thing. I hope so. That's what I'm in it
Yeah.
for. If you want to make the impact, your relationships are it.
Yes. And I think, it's kind of weird because in this day and age, everyone does talk about the income, not so much about the impact. But I was sitting around the family, I don't know if it was like Sunday dinner or something, and me and my brother were talking, and I don't know what we said. We must have said something about six figures. And my dad was like, I just want y'all to know, I was making six figures in 1983. He was like, these conversations mean nothing, basically. Like, you all are thinking way too small. I don't even care about six figures. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then my uncle, because my dad did real estate, and then my uncle is like really big in real estate, and he's done multiple seven figures for a while. And he was just like, Ashley, what you have to do is you have to have an impact goal, not an income goal. So he was like, if you want to impact 1,000 speakers this year, then chase that goal and then just track the income in, because if you focus on the income, then the impact gets lost. Yes. And that is true, because you can't, if you're thinking about your numbers, then you're always thinking about, new business coming in or getting more money from people versus getting more results from people. So I do think there's something to that. And everyone who has been successful has always told me that, is that it's never about the money.
Yes. I mean, you just said so much right there. I mean, that is the ticket right there. I mean, that's everything, because I mean, the money, again, the money is not enough. The money is not big enough. Whatever your belief system is, you were not put on earth just to make money. We are here for one another, and really here to just help progress one another in the best way possible. And I'll even say this too, Ashley, and this may even be just really kind of like off of it, but I detach myself from the money. Even when I'm on a call for something that's $10,000 or $20,000, I make sure that I am detached from the money. My prayer, my affirmation is, I want whatever is the best thing for everyone involved to happen. I want that, because sometimes, like, I've met people that have the money. They're like, look, I got it in a line of credit right now, let's work. But they're a monster. They'll stress you out. So you don't want to just go after the money. It applies to just so many different levels. But really, when you can truly connect to your bigger why, your intention, and focus on the impact, how is somebody's life going to be affected, or how is it going to change because of your being in it? The floodgates just open up. That's when you're in that's a scalable mindset. That's a part of my program. We create a scalable mindset. That's when you get into that.
That is really good. And I think that would be good for anyone, because when you're having these calls, so the way that when we do Speak Your Way to Cash and we're teaching people how to pitch for speaking engagements, you're typically, you're pitching organizations. So your first introduction to them may be an email, and then you schedule the calls with people that are interested. I don't do cold calls because I don't really have time for them, in the sense that I can't be on I can't call people and get hung up on all day. I used to do that as an inside sales rep. And it is a lot of value in it. If you have the time to do it, I think it's the quickest way to probably connect with people and start talking to them if you're good at it. But I typically do a cold email, like they've never met me before outside of reading this email. But I make the email feel like I've researched them, I know them, they can know me, because I want them to get a sense of my personality. And then when we get on the phone, they've already given me the first yes to say that I can get on the phone with you. And then it's just a matter of figuring out what is best for both parties. But what you said about sometimes people have the money, but they're horrible, that is key. Because you do not want that client. I'm telling you, I've been in positions where I've refunded people. I'm like, you are not, it ain't worth this. You're going to get this money right back. You're going to have to find you another person to work with. Absolutely not. And it's horrible, because every time that's only happened once, but that one time it happened, I knew that I did not want to work with that person on the phone, but I made the mistake of assuming they weren't going to pay to work with me, because I was on the phone like, I don't know about this. And they went and paid the invoice like right away, because it was all automated. So this is like the bad part of automation. And I'm like, I can't believe they paid for it. Now I got to work with them. And it's just not worth it. It's not worth it. You do not want that. But if you're detached from the money, you probably can have a better sales conversation. So I want to talk about the sales conversation. What's the greatest thing about your style of selling?
So I pretty much flow off of a four-step framework. And I can't necessarily just, put that out right here. But what I like to do is just really get people to a point to where I'm validated initially off top. I position myself to where I'm validated. So when we're talking, it's really about, are you the fit? We know I'm the fit. We know that. And so a lot of people, they struggle with that because when they get into an environment where it's a sales focused environment. So people are giving them do you have a website I can go look at?
Right.
No, like, we're not doing none of that. So I make sure that I position myself on the front end so that's not even a question. You are now seeking me out because you know what it is, and you're now trying to get me to identify whether or not you are fit. So that's powerful, Ashley, because you waste so much time with people on the phone, and who has time to mess off 45 minutes to an hour, and you're not even going to get the commitment. So you want to make sure that you're not a question. It's all about how you're positioned on social and anything else that you have, but it's all about your funnel. So that's one piece of it. But the second piece is, I always tell people, because sometimes I get folks on the phone and they're like uber excited, like lit. And that's dangerous because you get in there and there's really nothing, there's no pain point for you to work off of. So you have to get to a point to where you're really digging deep and finding out what is going on. And I tell everyone, the pain point is the tip of the iceberg. How is this showing up in that person's life? You have to find out what's up. And just to give an example of that, a man gets on the phone with me, and typically my target audience is women, but sometimes a few fellas trickle in. But a guy gets on, we're talking about his program. He's not getting enough people. Long story short, I find out that that's ruining the intimacy in his marriage because I ask questions. So because your business isn't doing what it's supposed to do, that's going over into the bedroom, and that's a problem for him. Oh yes, and I felt him on that. So you want to be able to, you got to be okay with challenging people. And just to be very clear, I do give a disclaimer. Hey, listen, the transformation starts now. I know you're coming to me for me to help you, but I want you to know that it begins right now. Do I have your permission to call you out when I feel that you're shrinking? And you because when you do that, you get the permission. Yes, absolutely, Jasmine, go ahead and do that. But when we get further into the call and I see and I'm pinpointing, hey, this person's starting to they're getting back to their norm, I can call them out on that. And they're like, you know what, touche, correct. You're right. Let me get that together. And so it's all about
expert early on.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Because people, time is of essence. Like seriously, we're not getting on this for fun. You guys who are listening, you don't have time to waste. So if you are wanting to send out your pitch for speaking, or if you have a program of some sort, you want to make sure that you're covering your bases. You are the expert, and you need people to know that before they even get in that environment with you. So I make sure I do that. I challenge them. I ask really deep questions because you can't focus on, I don't know where to find clients. That's not really the problem here. It's not. It's an issue, but that's not the bigger problem. Find out what that bigger deal is. Like I said with that guy, it was affecting stuff in the bedroom. That was a hell of a problem for him.
Yeah.
So finding that out.
Yeah, that was a problem for anybody. No one wants it to spill over to home.
No. So I uncovered that. And another thing is I make sure that I'm clearly communicating the offer to where it makes sense to where they're trying to go. A lot of people, they just get into it. Well, my program is 8 weeks and this is this and this is that. No, you want to, while you're having the conversation, pull out those most important points to where they're like, oh, so you can help me with that. Pull out your case studies, pull out your results, and just make sure you're clearly communicating that. So you have to be able to do that for sure.
Yeah.
So that's something I've gotten really well at. And I help my clients do that too. So that when it comes down to saying, well, it's 10K or 15K, it's like, okay, that makes sense. That's it.
Yeah.
I've even had somebody say, that's it. And I was like, well, wait a minute.
Right.
Hold on.
That's good because you created the value. And I think too, you have to, one of the things that I realized early on is that sometimes you're not your ideal client. So
oh my gosh,
it's very difficult for people to say like, oh, I charge 15 grand when they're like, but I wouldn't pay me 15 grand for that. And I'm like, yeah, but you're not selling to yourself. Like you are your ideal client. You already know the thing that you're teaching. So that's why you wouldn't pay for it. but if you needed it, you would absolutely pay for it. And some of the things that I have dealt with. So there have been people who've come, and I'm not going to say no names, to speak their way to cash. They've spent money, like got on planes, done whatever they could do, come to the events. And I'll follow up afterwards and I'll just be like, how's it going? Like I literally gave you the formula. How's it going? And they're like, I have not pitched a single paid engagement. And I'm like, but see, that means that you really didn't need to know where to find engagements. You needed to know how you have a mindset issue over pitching. You have an implementation issue. You consume so much information from people, but you don't implement. And sometimes people just like being this is a problem with social media, I think. Sometimes people will make you out to be like their own version of a celebrity. And so they'll do anything to work with you. They'll do all these things, but they won't be the celebrity. They won't be their own celebrity. So they won't necessarily do the things that it takes to get to where that person is at or to get beyond them. Because I would love for a client to come back and be like, yeah, did what you said. Matter of fact, I just brought in $700,000 from one engagement. I'd be like, absolutely.
Oh, yes.
So I never want to coach people to where I'm at. I want you to go further because the principles can be applied to whatever. It could be applied to larger engagements, smaller engagements, whatever you want to do. So in terms of the mindset, what are some mindset shifts that your clients have had to make, that you've had to make? I know I've had to make some to actually implement the stuff that you've talked about today about sales strategy.
Yeah. So, and this is, I don't even know any other way to put this, but you got to be completely real with yourself. Does it just sound good to you or do you really want it?
Right.
Because you have to, number one, own, like if you really, really want it, you have to own it for sure. And then you have to every single day challenge yourself to build some momentum. That's why I created my brand Billions Momentum so that people understand, this is not just an overnight thing. You have to start making micro movements, and that builds up and matters. So a mindset shift that I've had to make was just really knowing deep down inside, hey, look, you deserve this for sure. You deserve it. You absolutely, it's okay for you to have money. It's okay for you to have success. It's okay for you to now have a sales team of 3 incredible multi-million. it is ridiculous of how I've attracted some incredible, just if I'm able to say badasses. Like I deserve, like you deserve that, Jazz. I'll even share with you a practice that I do. And anybody who's listening, because I know there's some people listening in coming from different circumstances, trauma situations. Mm-hmm. And I don't ever want to be the one that's on like, oh yes, sis, you can do it, do this and do that. And not just really like show you the behind the scenes. So I face myself in the mirror every single day. We're talking about at night when I'm brushing my teeth, or even when I'm in the car driving, I flip the visor down and pull the little mirror thing to see myself. I say, hey, I appreciate you. I love you. Start giving yourself that love and adoration and appreciation so that you can position yourself to start achieving the goals you have. Because if you really, real life, don't believe you deserve it, it's not going to happen. That is the biggest resistance and blockage you can have. So a mindset shift there is if you are looking at 6 figures or 7 figures or even 8, and you're like, that's too big, or whoa, like that's too much. And you may have people around you making you feel guilty for wanting more out of life. You know, you need to evaluate those relationships. And more importantly, affirm to yourself that you are deserving. And if you ask yourself, well, what makes me think that I'm not good enough? We got to uncover that. We got to get to the bottom of that, because you don't want to be the thing. I mean, people are going to tell you no. I get no's. I make sure I get a decision. Like, you're going to tell me yes or no. I get no's, guys. So you're going to get no, you're going to get all those things, but those don't define you and your value. What really does is your self-perception and concept. So you want to make sure that you challenge yourself in that area. Absolutely has nothing to do with funnels or sales or nothing, whatever, but it's the foundation of it. So that's one thing. Now, if you're someone, like Ashley said, who just watching people, cheerleading them on, getting all their information, and you're not doing nothing, I encourage you to ask yourself, what the hell do you really want? What do you really want?
Yeah.
Do you just want to push us and cheerlead us? Or do you want to celebrate yourself?
Right.
Because it's cool watching other people do it. I shower you with love every time I see you win, but I'm also like, hey, Jasmine, look, hey, we got to win. So what do I need to do? So really,
and it can be inspirational, which is healthy. So it's like, I think what I really appreciate is when I saw your group, I think I saw someone else that I know was like posting about how your group has really helped them. So I was like, okay, awesome. So I joined your group and I was like, whoa, how come I never heard of this woman? So then I looked you up, then more people were talking about how you were helping them. And I was like, this is awesome. This is someone I should connect with for sure. And it's, it could be healthy. You could watch someone, you could see them winning, you could see them doing well. Someone else I watch that I like a lot is Bianca Robinson. She was like the first business coach that I hired before, because I didn't know anything about making money online. I was like, I go to an office, that's where I make my money. So to figure out how to actually make money online, I'm like, okay, well, I'm gonna hire Bianca. And she was great. And people sometimes get caught up about like, oh, I don't know if I like his style or her style and all that. I don't really get caught up in that. I look for their results and whether they will give me like real deal information, And she did that. So I was like, okay, great. So I could see her winning. I could see you winning. And then I could be like, all right, that's dope. How does this help me move forward? And some people that I followed, they post maybe negative things, not about me or anyone in particular. They're just not like that positive of people. And I don't unfriend them, but I do hide all their posts because it's helping me move forward, So I think everything you consume, especially if you have a confidence issue, it really has to help you move forward. And if you can't hire a coach, and I've had people who've been like, I'd love to work with you, but I can't afford it. I have a free group. I don't have a book on speaking out yet, but there are tons of books and books are pretty cheap. So I know everyone listening to this can't afford a $25 book. You can go on Amazon right now and read somebody's book about how they've done something, and you can start doing whatever they tell you in that book, and it may work for you. So just start where you're at, but move forward. It could be a little movement. It doesn't have to be colossal movements every day, but that's what you said about like, it's not going to happen overnight, but you need to start making some movements to your goals.
Absolutely. I mean, the Elisa Nichols says it best. I want to quote her so bad. I can hear her saying it, but I don't know if I can just, get the quote right. But it has to do with abundance thinkers like consider, micro wins, and then those micro wins get into macro wins, right? So you have to begin. And for someone who's listening, if you don't have a business yet, or even a speaking topic, it's just your willingness to say, hey, this is what I want. I accept that this is what I want. I accept that I am deserving of what I want. So let me get out there and get this together. Yeah, I mean, that's really the start. You begin building inertia, and then now you have momentum. You're starting having conversations. I'm a firm believer that every intention I put out there, God absolutely put someone in my space to help me get to the next level. So you're going to start bumping into people that are going to start challenging you with different conversations. You're going to start going places. But it's just all about you. Hey, what do you want for real? Like real life. What is it that you want? And then begin making, movement. It sounds so much easier. It's easier said than done. But once you get into that practice, challenge yourself daily to do something, it'll start coming together. I didn't start out like this. I didn't. You heard what I said. Like, I had this little $9.97 in the online space. Now, this is outside of the other company, but I started out with the $9.97 thing. And if we want to get really real, Ashley, my very first course was in Thinkific. I believe it's Thinkific. It was for $11.99, $11.99. So that was me just kind of saying, ooh, what can I do? What can I come up with? And I was like, well, this doesn't make any sense. I don't feel good about this.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't start out like this. Ashley didn't start out, where she's at, you have to begin. But one thing, something stands out to me right now. And it's really, really heavy. I mean, I have to say it. It's like most people don't want to start because they don't want to be seen starting at the bottom. And I don't want that to be the problem for you. I just want you to know that wherever you are in your journey is absolutely perfectly fine. The only disservice or the only bad thing that can happen is if you just kind of sit there, if you want more and you just sit there. So I just wanted to say that.
That's a really good point, especially in today's world where everything looks glamorous. But one thing I'll say is I remember, and this is just so you all can kind of see how I think about things. When me and my husband first got married, we didn't have any money. We were out of college. So we got married a couple months before my husband's college graduation. So we didn't have any real money, like not at all. And we moved into a place on 38th in California, which if you're from Chicago, if you do like the logistics of it, it was 10 blocks from the state penitentiary. So when I would take a bus to my house, I'd be on the bus with people who were just getting out of jail. It was like the exact same bus. And I remember sitting on that bus. Now, I told you I didn't grow up poor. Like I grew up in Flossmoor, which is where I live now. And it's a nice neighborhood. And both of my parents did really well. So we didn't have to worry about that. But when I got married, it wasn't my reality, but we got married at 22. So I didn't want to, if you get married young, most people don't really think your marriage is going to make it. No one will say it out loud, but they say it. So you don't want to rely on anyone else. So we live on 38th in California, and that's because rent was only $550 a month. So cheap for like a 3-bedroom. So our rent was super cheap. It was crazy cheap. And the day that we had to pay our rent, I remember us going to like Walgreens and buying a piece of gum so we could get $5 back to make the last money we had to pay for the rent, because we couldn't go to an ATM because we didn't have $20 in the bank. So if you buy the gum, you could get the $5 back.
Yeah.
This is so funny. I don't think I've ever told this story, but I remember thinking during this period of my life, like, this is going to be such a dope story when I'm a millionaire, because this will just make me more relatable. And, I think sometimes people look at their circumstances and they look at it like it's a determined end. Like, I'm so sad because where I'm at now is where I will always be. But there was always something in me that was like, it doesn't matter how low I get. No, it doesn't matter what circumstance I get into. This is only a part of my story. This part does not define me. This little chapter, these couple pages in my book do not define me. And starting from the bottom, in my opinion, is really what makes you, especially as a speaker, it's what gives credence to your come up. So you really can't get on stage and tell someone, oh, I built multiple 7-figure businesses and I started off making $1 billion and then I lost a little. Like, it's just not a good story. What's a great story is I had $0 in my bank account and I had to figure out how to get that zero to $100,000 in 30 days or whatever your story is. So wherever you're starting from, the point is you have to start.
Yes.
And make it an asset. Don't make it, it doesn't have to be something negative. My collegiate speaking came from me going in college from a 2.1 in college to a 3.98 at Northwestern. But if I didn't have the 2.1, the 3.8 wouldn't be such a sellable story.
Whew.
So you really got to get, like, that story is critical.
Yes.
Oh
my goodness.
Like, you're not reaching nobody with a mountaintop to mountaintop story. I will tell you right now.
No. And it had always felt good to me. I mean, I've struggled with, oh my goodness, like just depression, anxiety. Even still to this day, anxiety is like a mofo. And just being able to open up and just let people know, like, hey, listen, whether you're doing $10 an hour or $10,000 program, there's still some level of anxiety. I mean, And when you said that story about about going to the gas station to get the gum to get the $5 back, oh my goodness. I mean, it's just the stuff that just the things that I've gone through. I've even gone through a phase where I've had to like live on people's couches, friends going from couch to couch. Well, hey, you got me for the first 2 weeks of this month. Okay, cool. I'm gonna find me somewhere else to go for the other remaining. So, I mean, everybody has to start. And it almost brings tears to my eyes just thinking about the things I've overcome. And this is not about me. I really want this to translate to you as regardless of where you are right now, regardless of who's told you suck, regardless of who's turned down and walked their back on, just turned down and walked away from you, whatever, no matter what, you can absolutely still realize that vision you have for yourself. Nobody is telling you no. No one's telling you no but yourself. If you do not make a move, that's it. That's what carried me through. Like, hey, look, man, Jasmine, we got this. We can do this. Some days you don't feel like you can, but you're going to have to show up anyway. That's why I always tell my clients, let's create a different version of you. Let's get this avatar flowing. What are their habits? What are they talking about? Like, how are they living? So that when you're you're in an environment where you're trying to enroll someone into a premium package, you can assume that and get into that energy and rock it, So, man, Ashley, that was good. That was really good.
No, it's critical. That mindset piece of it is like, it is critical. And, for people who, because my signature speech is the currency of confidence. So I talk about confidence all over. If you are someone who's listening because you struggle with confidence and you don't like your current story, you need to write another one. And I mean, physically write another one. Like in my lowest moments, the way that I reimagine my future is I write another version of my current story or my future story. And sometimes I will, write a letter from my future self to the person that I am now. So it's like, you may be going through something and you're like, Ashley, look, I know this feels bad, but trust me, I'm 20 years in the future and you're killing it. Your husband, y'all been married 40 years. You've been doing this. You've been doing that. You've impacted thousands of lives. You've spoken next to Obama. You've done whatever your version is, what you want that to be. Write that letter as though it is 20 years later to who you are now so that you have something to look forward to. Because the visions that you see online of people are well curated if they're entrepreneurs. And that's just because it's marketing. So you can't look at everyone else's story and think you know what's going on. People who are confident, like Jasmine, myself, I know that I have fears and I have insecurities and I have anxieties and all these different things, but I have to literally work through them. And so, what Jasmine said about looking in the mirror, that's critical. Write that letter, do whatever it takes for you to fiercely protect your confidence. Because without your confidence, you don't even get to pitch. You don't even get to reaching out to someone because you're making up stories about them that are negative. You're like, oh, they never would hire me. Oh, she'd never want to work with me. Why? How could I have a big corporate client? They would never want to work with me. And they will. They do want to work with you.
That's why they're showing up. Yeah. Like I mean, that was so good. Oh my gosh, that was so good. But like I tell people, nobody's just getting on the phone with you for no reason. I mean, people want to buy. You just need to lead them. You need to guide them through the transformation. And that's really what that's what I love about my style, because honestly, it's really not selling. I don't really look at it like, hey, I mean, yes, there's a transaction at the end that we do take during the time. Like, I don't encourage anybody getting off the phone without the payment. Like, that's another little trinket right there. But it's just really, oh my goodness, just just owning that. Like, seriously. And I know we hear the word own. We hear that so much. Okay, we got to own it. What does that look like? It looks like you writing that letter. It really does. It looks like you getting in the mirror, letting yourself know that you're valued and appreciated and that you're loved by yourself. That's what that looks like.
Yeah, because information is out there. I mean, you're not coming to, most of the time, you're not coming to a coach for just pure information that you can Google.
Yeah.
You really
Yes.
are coming for because it's what a lot of people do. And I think Benji Bruce, he's another really great speaker that I like and follow. He was saying that most people aren't successful because they copy the work, but they don't copy the mindset of the person they're trying to be like. So you can copy Michael Jackson's dance moves, but you don't, it's not the dance move that made him Michael Jackson. It is literally the way he thinks, the way he exists. And sometimes you really work with people so that you can see how they think. That's more valuable to me than the information.
Exactly. Like, I mean, like I told, somebody asked me, it was like, are you ever gonna, do you have an ebook? You know, because people like they try to just kind of get out of it when you drop the investment. They're like, what else she got?
Yeah.
Ooh, that VIP day. Ooh, that's do you have something else? And I'm like, you know what? Honestly, if I were to take what I know and try to put it into an ebook, it would be literally fraudulent because what that you can Google this stuff. If you spend enough hours, you can find the answer on YouTube videos. So when I come at somebody, I'm coming at them with a solution. And that's really what separates a low ticket from a high ticket is the solution is delivered. And that's what people are coming to you for. They're coming for the problem to be solved, not just the Band-Aid or anything like that. And if they don't know that that's what they need, you're there to show them that.
Yep. And that is why you have to ask those probing questions. And that goes for whether you're speaking to individuals, whether you're speaking to corporations or colleges, you need to know the underlying issues, and especially for corporations and colleges that are costing them money every single day.
Yes.
So do they have an issue with people not being able to pass tests? If so, then you don't need to be pitching a program about student leadership. You need to be pitching a program that'll help them retain students and get them to test better. I mean, you really do need to figure out what that problem is before you offer your solution. Because if you offer the solution before you know the problem, it's not going to be a solution.
Right. And people begin to thinking, well, do I have an issue with that? And you literally won't get the yes. You know, so really make sure you're tactful in your conversation. And it's really nothing to overthink. It's just how you approach it and how you position it, you know. But you're absolutely right. It has to make sense to them. It really has to.
Right. It does, especially if they're going to make money, because confusion does not. It does not the sales at all. Like people are like, I don't know what you offer. I don't know what I'm going to get out of it. I don't know what's going on.
Right. And if they go for it, you're going to get a refund request, and that sucks.
That does suck, especially if it's a higher ticket offer. And sometimes I find that sometimes people just aren't talking to the right audience. Sometimes you really do have a solution that's well packaged and that can be life changing, but you really are talking to people that don't have the money. And if they don't have the money, they can't give it to you. So you have to find the last person we interviewed, Jim Cathcart. One of the things he said is you need a message, and then you need a market, and then you need mileage. So he was like, you got to stay in the game long enough to see the success. That's mileage. But market is you need people who both have a problem, but also have the ability to pay you.
Absolutely. And that ties into, like my organic outreach efforts, posting those thought-provoking conversations or posts in the groups to start the conversations and taking it a step further to find out, because like I said, with the whole ads thing, it can be a cute picture. They might even like how you look, think you cute, just want to, just press the schedule button. And then when you get on the phone with them, it's like, oh, well, actually, I mean, this is where I'm at. You have to have certain qualifiers. Essentially, that's what I'm saying. You have to have certain qualifiers where for a fact that this is the type of individual that you can work with. Because if someone were to come to me, Ashley, like if you've never made $1 in business at all, I am not for you. I'm not. Right. There's absolutely nothing that we can do. So you have to have certain, just like I said, qualifiers and be very clear, and do not bend on those whatsoever. When you set those qualifiers, don't bend on them.
Yep. That's tough, but it's not tough if you can divorce yourself from the actual money of it all. It is tough if you're only figures.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you don't want to take some money from someone or an investment from somebody and you're not even really sure you can help. That is going to be a nightmare. Oh my goodness. So they can have the money. I mean, somebody may have never owned a business, started a business, don't even have an offer, but they want to come to me and they have $25K to do something or another with it. Mm-hmm. I can't take that. I mean, but some people are so money driven. They're like, oh yeah, let's do it. And I'll figure it out. Like let's jump off the plane and build a parachute going down. That's not, you don't apply that to this instance. Right. You need to have your mechanism, and that gets into a whole nother thing, but you need to know exactly what it is you're solving and really who is it going to benefit. So it'll make sense when you speak of the offer.
So do you help people craft their offer? Because there are a lot of speakers who probably would like to have a product or a digital coaching something where they're able to coach on their expertise, regardless of what that is. And I just spoke to a speaker who sells digital products to his clients to have a lasting transformation. So he'll do the one-time, but afterwards he sells them his webinar series for his sales professionals. He'll give them 6 months access to it after the speech for an upsell. So maybe he'll $10K, and then I'll be like, all right, well, for another, $20K, I'll give you 6 months access. You can have your salespeople all around the world log in, and take these trainings, and then, we'll see how that works out for you.
Yeah, no, I do. And it's my favorite piece. So, I mean, it's really so cool to get somebody into a place where they're like, you know what, I'm going to charge $20K for this, and I feel good about it, and I can do it, and they get it done. But it's really it's beautiful to help somebody take what they know how to do so well and position it into a space to where somebody else can go through it or just benefit from it. And it's just a beautiful ending. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, a part of my program is really defining your transformation and creating the package to where when somebody comes to you for the help, you have a systemized approach for them to go through where they can literally follow your steps and get it done. So yeah, and a lot of people overthink that, but it's very, very simple. It's just a matter of you just kind of doing the work, because it does take a little, as I like to call it, energy equity to get that done.
Yes, it does. Creating courses and programs is not easy, but after you have it created, you can kind of follow that framework over and over and over again.
Oh yeah.
And I like that aspect of it. So this was amazing, Jasmine. Where can the Speak Your Way to Cash community find you on the internet?
Yeah, so I have a group. It's called Millions Momentum, where we really focus on just building momentum to hit your goal. So if you want to participate in that, it's really designed for service providers, coaches, consultants, course creators. You can go to bit.ly/millions momentum and just send me a friend request. I'm always posting like cool little stuff. Very random. You'll also see me on my dread maintenance days. So I'm just really, really, really fun. But I love to have you inside of the group. Ashley's there. We love ringing the bell. So anytime someone makes a win, whether it's big or small, they ring the bell inside of the group so we can shower them with love and just kind of, keep it going.
Yeah, I really like that aspect of it. I think that's great. So this is dope. This has been a really good conversation. Hopefully you all have gotten some really good sales mindset tips and some strategy tips from this that you can apply to your speaking business. All of it is directly applicable to a speaker and building that speaking business. So guys, I'm going to post this interview and you all can definitely connect with Jasmine. I'll post all of her links in the show notes. So just right underneath this podcast, wherever you're listening to it, you'll be able to click on her links and connect with her. And I will see you guys next time.